I think we're all here. So let's, I'll call the meeting to order. And it looks like Tanya's joining us. So that's great. That means the link worked.
I just have to lower the shade because of the sun.
Okay.
But I can hear you.
So we have a few business items to get through, and then we're going to move into our goal setting. The first of those is the meeting minutes from last time. If anyone would like to make a motion about those.
I move to approve the December minutes.
I second.
Okay. All in favor?
Yes.
All opposed? Okay, and the minutes have been passed from December. Thank you. Announcements. Our next regular meeting is February 23rd. So hopefully that's all in your calendar. I just remembered something. So I've been teaching a class at SOU, and it's on Wednesdays from 3:30 to 5:30. And it goes through March. So there's that. And I didn't put that on the agenda as a discussion item. But that seems like I'm curious. So that would affect February and March meetings. And I'm curious if people would be open to doing them either a different day or later. I apologize for that.
So are you suggesting, Marnie, keep the same flow of the day, but maybe make it at 5 to 7 or something?
My class goes till 5:30, so the earliest I could really do it would be 6.
I would prefer, like we do with Thanksgiving and Christmas, I would prefer shifting the week.
Yeah, unfortunately, I teach every week.
Oh.
Yeah.
Shifting the day for me then.
Okay.
Yeah, I have the same conflict.
Okay.
It would have to be, if it couldn't be the same day, it would have to be a different.
But I can do later that day, but it would have to be like the other days that week, except for Friday. I'm booked at 6 p.m.
Okay. Why don't I send out a little doodle poll and get some feedback, and that way we can the without taking up the meeting time. But so it affects February's meeting and March's meeting, and you know, the other option is I can miss those 2 meetings, which isn't ideal since.
Angel?
What was that?
Sorry.
Okay. That's okay. Okay. And then which week in March is spring break? Does anyone know?
18th. Well, for us, the spring break, I think it changes depending where you are, but I think for us, it's the week beginning the 21st.
21st. Okay. So there is also that some people might not be available that week. So we could either move it up or we could move it to the 30th. The 30th, then I would no longer have that problem because I won't be teaching class anymore.
When is that? It's in April, is that right?
Spring break is in March.
Oh, in March, okay.
Yeah, it looks like it's the 21st for the high school as well.
Okay. So how do folks feel about, I mean, that'd be a really easy fix right then, feel about moving the March meeting to the 30th instead of the 23rd? Just 1 week later?
I'll be on vacation, but
yeah, okay.
we can.
Yeah, it's not good for me.
Not good for you. Okay, we'll figure that out. I'll include that in the doodle poll. Okay, sorry, I forgot all about that. So public forum, do we have anyone for public forum today? No, okay. And then we have no reports or presentations. We're just skipping through all of our regular business. We do have the monthly column in Sneak Preview. And there was an article that came from the Wildfire Safety Commission. Their commission has already passed the article, so it's just up to us to pass it for the Sneak Preview. And the main thing would be, we're not going to wordsmith it or anything like that, but just, are there any kind of major concerns, or do we feel good about saying yay to that?
I would like to say yay. Yeah.
Okay. Is that a motion, Bex? A motion? Yay.
I will make a motion to say yay to the article.
Okay. And I saw Anya. Was that a second?
Yeah, I don't know if I can actually second or vote on any of this stuff.
That's true. You probably can't.
Second.
Okay. Okay, great. All in favor for passing the Wildfire Safety Commission article? All opposed? Okay, great. We're all set with that.
One question.
Yes.
Did it have a title?
It does have a title.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
Is that okay?
I couldn't remember.
It says there's a new resource in town. Together we can create a fire adapted ashland.
Thank you.
Wrap.
Jamie?
Sorry. And since we're not making any adjustments to it, Curtis already has it, right? Because didn't Steven send it? I can double check.
I don't think it went, I think it was going through us first and then to Curtis.
Okay, I may be forgetting. Okay, then I'll double check it.
If you send it there first. And then the only question was who the author is and whether it's supposed to have an author. So usually we do put an author, and he was suggesting that's Ashland Fire and Rescue. Okay, and for next time we have a couple articles that are in the pipe coming up. There's youth voices on climate action, which we could do for next time. Yeah, is that good, Anya? Okay.
Yeah.
And then CPC, CCOC joint article. And have you talked to Rick Barth about that already, James?
Yeah, we've had one meeting already, and we're poised to have the second one now.
Okay, perfect. Okay, great. Looks like we're in good shape there. So I propose that we move into our goal setting since we need all the time we can get. And let's see. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. Let's see, Mary, do you think you could enable sharing for me? So I just put together a very short agenda, and whether we get through it, I don't know. So I just don't want people to feel like if we don't get through it, we somehow are failing, because we're not, but we're just going to get as far as we can today. Let's see.
Can you do it now?
Yes.
Okay.
There we go. Okay. So just let me know if you need to see anything bigger. I was going to go through the results of the survey, and I couldn't send it out ahead of time because of meeting rules. So we're going to go through it as a group. That way, if anyone is participating in our meeting from outside, they are also getting the same information. And so we're going to go through the results of the survey. We're going to identify some of our opportunities for different projects and project partners. Then we're going to develop and prioritize goals. And I sent out a little link to help us do that. Once we have a good list, we can go through and vote on our favorites. If we get to it, again, we'll just see how far we get. We can start to assign roles. But the nice thing, if we can get through that, then the good thing about that is we can start working in our subgroups and actually developing specific strategies and timelines. And that would be a really good place to get to. So we're going to try and get through as much of this as possible and wrap up just a couple minutes ahead in case there's anything that we need to talk about for the next meeting. Does that sound okay to everyone, or does anyone have any things they want to add or clarify for the agenda?
Well, I would like to just suggest that if we get really close to finishing the agenda, that maybe you could ask if people unanimously were willing to go another 10 or 15 minutes, if that would make a difference.
I can't do that. I've got something. Yeah.
Okay.
I rush on this Wednesday every time anyway.
Okay. Good to know ahead of time. So we won't have that discussion at the end, but we'll get as far as we can. Thanks for bringing that up, Larry. Let me see. I'm trying to figure out how I can actually see everybody while I'm sharing my screen, which so far I'm not able to do. So if somebody has their hand up and I'm not responding, just know it's probably because I can't see you. I'm not trying to ignore anybody.
So Marnie, I don't know if you can do this on your screen. I got a big one, but there's a little matrix you can hit.
Yeah.
If you pull open the box on the right, and that matrix on the far right allows you to draw and drag it open. So you see everybody.
Okay. Thank you. Everybody's very small, but now at least I can see everybody. Okay, you'd think it's funny we're still learning more about all of this. Okay, great. Well, let's hop to it. Survey results. Can you see this okay on your screen?
Yes.
Okay. Let me know if I need to change the window at all. So I'm started out with why we serve. These are what people's answers told us, that people are passionate about the environment. There's a desire to create climate resilience, learning about government and policy work, passionate about climate justice, a sense of responsibility for the future, providing vital service to the city, activating and inspiring others to create cultural change, reducing climate change by doing our part as a community, creating a city that inspires other communities, and serving on behalf of our organizations. As I go through these, if anyone wants to add anything, please feel free, because this is kind of going to be the final document that I save rather than the online version. So we can still add to it or change things. I also just took the liberty of making it much shorter than the actual responses. So, but if anyone has feedback or just something that they want to add, just let me know. Okay. It was nice. It was nice to go all the way back to, why we're here. Why are we doing this work? Because I know sometimes it feels like, why are we spending the time and what are we really accomplishing, and just going back to our roots. There was a little bit on history, and the reason for this was just to remind us that actually we have been highly effective in the past. Maybe things are different now, and why are they different? Are there things that we've lost that we want to try and get back to, or are we kind of moving forward in new and different ways? And I know there's been some frustration about kind of lack of current success, and yet let's not forget about a lot that's already happened. So some of the things that worked well in the past was when the commission was really working as a team, when every member contributed on a regular basis toward agreed upon goals. We had goal setting sessions pretty much every year for a while that really set out what we were doing, and then specific subcommittees to help accomplish those goals. The retreat was really helpful because then we put in more time to just really, and part of that's what we did today, of getting to know each other again, but also getting to have some kind of deeper conversations and sharing more information. There was a whole long-term concerted effort of the climate change that worked, with the mayor and the city council and the city staff, and that resulted in a SEEP. So sometimes we lose sight of this long-term progress when we just look at it year to year. The community ties and engagement that we used to have through parades, events, close collaboration with Recology, the award ceremonies, the green show, schools. And then also a lot of the work that we did as a research arm for council, when council would ask us to look into specific issues, and we could return, with what we found. So those are some of the things that worked well. Are they still happening now? Yes and no. We haven't done goal setting in a while, so this is our first step towards that. And then just a little bit of stalling in terms of education and advocating for SEEP. This is a new part of our mandate. There's CPC, and there's some confusion how we best fit in. So why are we not doing those things? Too much effort involved in getting others motivated and agreeing on goals. COVID obviously has changed the world we live in. There's been some city dysfunction that seems to affect how effective we are. And the commission itself has been too splintered to get some of these things done. Is there anything from the first question that asked what we've done in the past that we want to really actively try and bring back? So there was some, maybe, so we'll see. Depends on what we decide to do. The focus on one action at a time and working to complete it, and then moving to the next. So really focusing as a group. And then overall team structure, the positive effort of working together and being highly visible, and modeling sustainability as a culture and a way of life. Some of this, I'll give you all these results after the meeting. I didn't want to go against the meeting rules, but you can take a look at these. I'm not sure that we're going to go through it. The SEEP obviously is something that everybody really thought was a big accomplishment. The sneak preview continues to be. And then we have lots of other things that we're seen as biggest accomplishments in the past: waste prevention, storm drain marking, water conservation. If we move looking forward, we have SEEP and climate recovery goals. We have about half, actually, no, closer to 3/4 of the group think that we could be the more of an outreach arm for other commissions that are working also to implement SEEP's goals. So we might do some outreach on specific topics that other commissions have developed. How can the commission become more effective and dynamic in doing outreach? We need outreach infrastructure from the city. So leadership and staffing is required at higher levels than just our group of volunteers. We can learn from other cities our size that have had success. We can ask local businesses and other experts how they do their outreach. We can look for an intern who can do similar work to what Bridget used to do, especially doing online outreach. We can try and bring in new commissioners that are very skilled in outreach. We can build new allies and collaborators in the wider community and involve a broad range of citizens. Doing more conservation education programs. More focus on equity around helping finance conservation and climate resilience upgrades for homes and apartments. Promoting programs that cost little or nothing to implement. Working with other commissions and the city council to identify tasks, take on one task at a time as a commission and complete it before moving to the next task.
Marnie?
Yeah.
It occurs to me in this conversation that it's also important for us to be well aware of that without the position of Stu and without a current intern, I think we need to have a strategy with that reality with any actions that we propose.
Okay.
Not that we should just sit and pick our nose while we wait for a person, but I think, you know, we want to be successful, whatever it is that we do decide to do, but that is our reality right now.
Okay, let's keep that in mind because it might affect how we prioritize timing wise.
I have a question.
Yeah.
To Mary, I think I heard you say that they're not going to do anything until they hire someone, right? To have anybody acting in Stu's position, is that correct?
Stu is going to work 10 hours a week for at least a month, and he's supposed to be handling all of the rebates, maybe the government, whatever it is that it was a grant that they just got by the federal government. He's supposed to be handling that. And I asked him to give me updates so I could give it to you, but 10 hours is all he can commit to because he's working at his other job with the nonprofit. So
right. So basically, all we get is 10 hours, and it's pretty concentrated on those things. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, if there's something I can do, I'm happy to do it. I don't know too much about what he did, but you know, I can help. It'll be a couple months at least.
Okay. Okay. So let's see, there's just 3 more. So gathering information on where Ashlanders get information, and then what people think would be the most effective way to reach people. Coordinating outreach for several commissions together. This has been talked a lot about at the cross coordination meeting. And people working more as a team rather than as individuals. As far as priorities, the group in general was asked, you know, which of these different sectors they support us working towards, and the 2 that came out on top were buildings and energy and consumption and materials, and then the land use and transportation was 3rd, and 4th was public health, safety, and well-being. So this just gives us a little bit of idea as a group, kind of where we might want to focus some of our energies. I asked folks to answer just how much they agree with a statement that says that we'll work on any of these topics depending on what the current priorities are of the commission as a whole, and the city's priorities as well. And that's just trying to figure out, can we work as a team where we all focus on one thing, even if it's not our individual areas of expertise? So about half of us said, a yes to that statement, and about half of us gave it a slightly lower score, but all pretty high, so that's good. Okay, let's get a little bit more into the meat of the issue of what specific types of priorities we might want to set into our goals. And what I did here is kind of try and consolidate everybody's ideas. A lot of them overlap, so some of these came from 3 or 4 different people. I put them all in a survey so we can actually vote on them in a little bit if we want to decide which ones are each of our top favorites. But as we go through this discussion, we can add to the list as well, because I think what it does is it spurs some more thinking. And so specific to mitigation, so this is on the greenhouse gas emission side, looking at energy conservation. The top suggestions were to work towards home retrofits, making these more affordable. And I had to change the wording a little bit. So, if I got it slightly off what you originally wrote, or if you need it changed back, let me know. A big push towards advertising and doing outreach on the existing city incentives so that more people take advantage of those. Working to get city utility rates linked to actual use so that it saves lower income people money, and that higher income people or higher users are paying more. Developing strategies that help low income households with things like smoke and their energy bills, and also have the co-benefits of leading to energy conservation. So tying equity and conservation together. Promoting alternative transportation, and working on reducing idling. Then there were a couple renewable energy goals. One was promoting community solar, and another one was working to have new buildings only powered by clean energy. Helping with this shift away from natural gas to electric. There was a process that was recommended to do that. So that was really helpful, actually, the exact steps. That first we would develop the actions, then we would set some milestone dates. We would educate the public and work with homeowners to convert and disconnect. We would work with the CPC and council on this, and then hopefully get an ordinance passed to prevent natural gas in new development. And this actually does coordinate well with what's some of the CPC's priorities, which I have a list of, which I can let you know what's on there. Moving from gas to electric vehicles. So there's some electric car share programs that are coming up, but also trying to get more electric car shares in lower income areas. Educating the public on the SEEP and addressing consumption through outreach and cultural change. So obviously these all are, different goals that we could start to develop, and they would have different strategies and objectives associated with them. A lot of what we're already doing fit into these, like the storytelling would definitely address some of these. So it doesn't get at the exact actions, but we will get there. We're starting kind of with the bigger goals. There were some other priorities that weren't specific to mitigation. So these include adaptation, but then also some of the more traditional conservation actions that we've done in the past, and some new things as well. So connecting people with nature, supporting the other commissions, so becoming more of that support and outreach arm to the other commissions, focusing on water conservation, single-use and waste prevention, post-consumer composting, community resilience, developing more community resilience, and continuing to diversify the commission itself. I'm going to go through the rest of the survey results, and then we'll come back to this when we, sorry about the dog. So we also talked about kind of how do we work together. There's two kind of different models coming up, and we'll just see where we end up. But we have the small group model, which is what we've been doing now. We have 3 separate groups, 2 of them more active. And this allows us to have 4 or fewer people meeting so that we don't have to have minutes and official staff support, which is a little bit prohibitive at this time. So this works well for what we're doing. But the thing that it does is it disperses our energy, right? And so we get, you know, right now we have one group that works as a group. We have another group that kind of works more individually, and it could work well for certain projects, but maybe some other projects need us all really putting in our full effort. So it just depends on where, you know, what our goals are and how people want to work. If we do the small group model and continue in that direction, you know, it seems important that each has its own leader, it has specific goals, it has tasks, a timeline. It reports back to the full group every month, that there's a personal responsibility taken for success, that it has continued momentum. And then there was a suggestion that as much as possible, they meet outdoors so that people can still see each other's faces and have that connection. And if we did kind of one big task all together, and we could actually do both of these depending on what we decide to work on, you know, we could still have some small groups. One group might do some research of what's the best way to, you know, what kinds of things is Corvallis doing, or what, you know, looking at how other cities have been successful. One group might be doing outreach. One group might be working to bring in some volunteers. One group might be doing the intersection with city staff and commission. So there's different ways that we can format this and continue to all work together. In this question in the survey, just some comments came out that I pulled out because they seemed important. And they were kind of like how we work together. So there was a comment that said that those are not motivated or able to take personal responsibility for getting things done need to resign from the commission. That collaboration and communication, personal motivation, dedication to the greater outcome, individual responsibility and accountability are all very important. And that group success is more important than kind of individual, says ego, but probably more just individual success. We want to see the whole group succeed, and we want to see change happen. Asking about skills and time commitments. So there was a question that asked, you know, how much time you currently put into the commission, and then how much time would be a reasonable time for people to expect. So 75% of the group said that, sorry, I'm on the wrong. 75% of the people said that this is the right commission for their skills, considering that we have a mandate on outreach. And 2 people said maybe this is the right commission for their skills. We're just recognizing that the commission itself has changed. We all agreed that 1 to 2 hours per week, that was pretty unanimous, is a reasonable amount to put in. And most people right now spend less than that. 2 people spend more than 2 hours per week. So there's a bit of a not an even amount of time being put in.
Marnie?
Yeah.
Just to clarify, that 1 to 2 hours per week, that's beyond the 2 hour a month commitment?
Yes.
Okay, just
yes.
Thank you.
Yeah, there's our regular meeting, and then how much additional time is reasonable.
Can I ask, 2 people spend more than 2 hours per week at the moment on top of the meeting?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And this we can talk about there's a bunch of tasks that Risa and I have been doing because city staff isn't available at the same levels that it used to be. And there's just a lot of time that we've been putting in. And so there's an ask that we delegate some of that, that we really need to spread that time around. So there's a list of things that need to be delegated. This was my input to the survey, so, but it's pretty obvious where it came from. And then we asked about the skills that are represented by this group as specific to outreach. And this is more knowing, like, what are we already good at? What do people already know how to do? You know, and then how do we use that most effectively? So, you know, folks answered that the things that they're already skilled at include social media, school and community events, writing articles, public speaking, radio or podcasts, storytelling, art installations, outreach tools, in-person and virtual meetings, community surveys, phone banks, mailings, postcards, canvassing, and just generally creating community and bringing people together.
Hey,
So,
Marnie, what's the difference between number 2 and number 9? I mean, events are events, right? Whether they're meetings or something else. Can you just, was there a way to distinguish it between those two?
They just came from different people and they seemed possibly different enough. So, but maybe they're the same thing.
And teaching classes like that is something that we've done in the past. I'm not sure where it would go under public speaking. I'm not sure.
Okay, well, let's just add it. Yeah. So, I mean, it's really good to look at that list and realize, you know, all the skills we have, and just good to remember too, that if you're working on a project that needs some of this and maybe that's not your wheelhouse, you know, reach out, and we should all be working together on a lot of that. So, the group had a surprisingly high self-reporting for experience of learning from today's youth, supporting women and BIPOC leaders, and understanding the connection between conservation, social, racial, and gender equity. So most commissioners reported already having the maximum level of personal learning and knowledge on these topics.
A question.
Yeah.
Why have you used the word surprisingly?
That's a lot of knowledge in a group that's not our focus. And so it's good to know that people are paying attention, that they're learning in different contexts. We all have different places that we work outside of this group. It's not something this group has ever really talked about. So it's neat to see we're all kind of feel like we have that base. And then it also means if we want to learn more, we know that we can start, you know, at least we're not starting at the very beginning. We can start somewhere where people already are. So that's good. As a group, we had slightly less experience working with diverse and non-traditional community members taking the lead. So most of us ranked somewhere in the middle of that.
Marnie,
yeah,
I'd like to just say on the why it seems so many of us have experience with these equity, diversity, and inclusion aspects is because basically I think, you know, what I notice in my life, every organization that I'm currently working with and individuals and people in my life it's become a big focus. And so there's been educational opportunities. I mean, it's good that it seems like we're all bringing this to the commission. And I think that this is indicative of a cultural shift at least in Ashland, if not the wider community.
Yeah, and that was my experience too with the Forest Service. The last 35 years, the Forest Service was super focused on all this. So, you know, just was nothing new.
This is, yeah, I completely agree. And that's why I just feel the summary of the survey without the word surprisingly would be more objective. That's why I was highlighting that word surprisingly, because it's a view you weren't expecting, but sometimes we shouldn't project our own views when we're writing up and summarizing a survey.
Okay. I was surprised, and I just was summarizing my my response to the survey. I didn't put the highest level because I feel like I've learned a lot, but I still have so much more to learn. It's one of those things, the more you learn, the more you realize you don't know. You know, that's where I am on it. The more I learn, I go, oh my God, you know, there's all this stuff I didn't know. And so I keep just getting my mind expanded in ways that I didn't know was going to happen. And so I didn't put the highest level. And yet, you know, I just probably read the survey differently as well. And so I think there's work that we can do as a group, but we know that we can at least expect, you know, a lot of us to be in similar places as we move forward on that topic. Jamie.
And that's a good scientific perspective too. I mean, you don't know what you don't know, and you don't know the questions, right? So I appreciate that, Marnie, you know, that it is true. I think I know something, then I realize that I'm just on the tip of the iceberg of it. So yeah, and it's all changing.
Yeah.
So I appreciate that.
Yeah. Jamie?
I was thinking it might be helpful for me personally. Can you remind me how that question was phrased or how it was written?
It had a ranking from 1 to 5 from, I have a lot to learn to, I've done a lot of personal learning and growth on this topic, or I don't remember the exact words. I didn't put them in here. Oh, but we can go back to the survey. And look
okay. I was just thinking that if it was phrased in that, like the way that you said, like I've done a lot. Yeah, I could see how, yeah, I was just curious.
Okay. There were a few comments at the end of that section. Some people, anyway, it doesn't matter, but there are just a few comments. So I threw those in here just so they didn't get lost. And then there were some really nice suggestions for folks to reach out to, possibly to fill our one open seat. I didn't want to put their specific names in here, but I have that list and I can share those with you. And just suggestions that we look specifically to the business community, to some of the nonprofits, or to OSF. But obviously there are others as well. So that is a really quick overview, although not fast enough because we only have 20 more minutes of the goal setting. What I wanted to do right now is see if we want to add anything else to our list of priorities. And then we're actually going to go through and rank those.
I just had a couple of observations from the survey. So one of the questions further up was about the outreach for CPC, wildfire and transportation. But we haven't actually asked them what their priorities are to understand how that would impact on our work. So we don't know if they're captured within that list or to influence that list. And then it was highlighted that we should have one action at a time. So if that's quite a big part, because not many people said no, and that would help with the coordination, that's quite a valuable piece of information in terms of prioritizing. And then also understanding like what, in terms of CPC and their priorities, and then also the collaborative with the 2 action groups on transportation and natural gas. Do we explore a role there? Do we need to find out more about what they're doing in terms of outreach and how we can support them as well? So it's like there's a list of all prioritized we've identified as individuals, but then the bigger question was how we want to operate as a group, which linked into the other commissions and other things happening in the community. And they're kind of, we've got them 2 separate at the moment, but we probably need to bring them together to prioritize, to make an informed decision around priorities. Does that make sense?
It does. I'm not exactly sure how we do that in this moment, but let's see if James has the answer.
Well, down below, this may relate to this or not. If you go slide down to the different ways that we approach things, whether it's taking on separate subgroups, whatever we're called now, versus small groups versus major task, I think it's an important conversation to have in the context of looking at priorities, to ask the question, where can we be most effective as one major group task to be taken on for a particular topic that we're looking at up above, or would it be better done in small groups? And so I think it would help bring context to how we're going to approach our prioritization above as well.
Yes. that links in terms of the ways of working, James. I like that. Yeah.
Okay. So, I mean, it can go one of two ways. We can decide how we want to work, and then that determines what some of our goals are. Or
I'm not saying that we should decide how we're going to work, but when we decide what the priorities are, how we work comes into play there. That's all I'm saying.
Okay, great. That makes perfect sense. I was going to bring up, let's see. I'm just going to stick it in here for now. I can move it again later. Okay, so we do have some opportunities, and it's good to think about these as we move forward of what our goals are, because there's just some things that, you know, are already available to us, which increases our success, or it might be something we can get done quickly, or something that we can help others in what they're trying to accomplish. So, you know, there's the opportunities with North Mountain Park to actually do some educational efforts. There's opportunities that I was going to give Bex a moment if she wants to talk about how we best engage with SOU and really benefit from that relationship. Obviously also with Recology, with the high school, working with the other commissions, but especially CPC. And luckily now we are having a lot more coordination and communication across the commissions. And what I heard from Rick was that there's an immediate need for community education on natural gas and also small engine emissions reduction, which is mostly leaf blowers. And then now with the Climate Collaborative coming on board, which is very exciting, you know, there's just a need to really delineate roles and figure out how groups best work together. And also, I lost the number, but sneak preview, which we've already been doing, but now there's also opportunities with Ashland News and really expanding those avenues of our commission taking the lead on getting some of this information out there.
Just so you guys know that the Ashland News launched, and on the front page is Climate Spotlight. So it's something people ought to be looking at.
That's fantastic.
Lori Kaplan wrote that article yesterday. I mean, published it yesterday.
And there's been some conversations about having all the commissions work together on articles, which would be really neat. And if, you know, if we want to offer us as organizing that, that might be an option as well. Okay. So if we go back to this list, Bex, I don't know if we addressed what you brought up.
No, I guess when we're prioritizing for the goals, I want to make informed decisions of where Ashland is. So CPC has some, you know, challenging priorities right now. The collaborative is gathering pace, and then one of the questions in the survey was about outreach for the other commissions and coordinating that. Yeah. But when we're now listing our priorities for our goals, that's not necessarily reflecting that. And it's, are we making informed decision to prioritize this? Like, I guess we start with, did everyone read the update link that you asked someone to send through yesterday, which is where SEEP is in terms of its delivery. If our absolute priority is outreach around SEEP, we need to look at what we should be doing there. And how we can prioritize goals that fit in with other actions within the community. It might be, okay, we prioritize these and then we need to sense check them against what else is happening. And then when you were just covering opportunities, if you want me to cover around SOU maybe after this, then I'd be happy to do that as well. You mentioned if I wanted to say a few words.
Yeah, would you like to do that now? If you can keep it really short.
If that helps, yeah. I guess this thinking came from when I was completing the survey, and I'd be really interested in Jamie's thoughts here as well from, because, and Anya actually as well, because we're representing organizations. We have a different role to other commissioners that have stepped forward as individuals. So I serve SOU and I represent SOU on the commission. And I think that's a real opportunity, one for the commission and also one for SOU that I want to try and bring together somehow. But I often feel I'm seen as an individual on this commission, and I'm not seen as someone working for SOU. I work across the community every day. I developed the community survey with Laurie that's just gone out, and there's all these little links. And I feel that I could link that more into the commission and vice versa, rather than, you know, just adding goals onto someone's plate. I don't think we're really capitalizing on the fact that we've got a recology representative here, an SOU representative here, as well as an Ashland School District representative here. And I do think that we should be seen differently to the role of other commissioners, because it is highlighted that it's different and that we're representing an organization. So I would like us to be seen differently. I think there's more to gain from that.
Okay, great. Let's make sure that we always remember to recognize what those opportunities are with our reps, because I think each of these projects, you know, might have a way that we can link into your existing efforts, your existing work, your existing knowledge. Okay. I guess I'd like to go back, and Larry, I saw your hand. Did you want to speak real quickly?
I just wanted to quickly say, I think however we choose to work, we need to make that decision informed by the fact that the city is not going to be staffing our work very soon. Yeah. I mean, I think it's important that maybe we need a hybrid way of working, but some way of working that we can work on things without needing staff support.
Okay. And it might mean something like, you know, educating the public on the SEEP specifically. Maybe this isn't the best moment to do that. You know, maybe we do want to start somewhere else. That's just a thought of how that might inform, you know, what we decide to do right now versus what we decide to do 6 months or a year from now. Just, yeah. So thinking about how that affects the actual work that we want to get done. So we have kind of a laundry list. What I'm hoping we do, we have 10 more minutes. I'm hoping we can feel comfortable with the laundry list and then just go in quickly. I sent you a link in your emails. If you could just click on that link and then pick your top 5. And we're still going to end up with a laundry list, but we're going to start to refine it. It's going to be iterative. It doesn't mean those are the final 5, but it'll start to help us at least figure out where as a group we really want to focus. And obviously we're not going to finish today. Risa.
It occurs to me that there is absolutely no shortage of topics that need addressing. And that's where I get really a bit overwhelmed because there's way more action needed than is reasonable for this group of volunteers. And along with awareness that we don't have a city position there, it's also, we could pick any 5 things, do them well, and we would still have 15 more things. And yeah, so that's so in my mind, the kind of structure that we create is really important. And one of my frustrations is that it feels like for every topic we have to reinvent the wheel. And really what we need to do is to have a wheel. and a wheel that we can plug in different topics, because otherwise it's an enormous output every single time. And anyway, I just needed to say that.
So let's make that part of our goals, which I have another file that I can start sharing instead of this one once. I just wanted to go through the survey results, but one of our goals could be to create that wheel, right? That framework that we work from so that we can respond really quickly to things. So someone needs outreach on wildfire versus water. Well, guess what? We already have that outreach part going. We just have to switch the topic from one thing to another. Maybe we have a different audience. Maybe we have different volunteers that work with us, something like that. But what part of our near-term goal might be to create that actual framework that moves us forward. Does that address what you were just saying? Not really.
No, I think it's part of our challenge. And I just I didn't want it to get lost in the bigger discussion, because I'm hoping that we can create some tools going forward that are repeatable.
Okay, so if nothing major is coming up as far as adding to the laundry list, I would love to just get through that task really fast, because then we can get to some of these more substantive discussions that I think will help us organize ourselves more effectively.
What's the difference between with the survey that we just took and this list you have in front of us?
This list came from the survey, and now we want to refine it and prioritize. Obviously, we're not going to do all the things on the list, but we're all different individuals. We had different input into the survey. And now we're going to say, okay, as a group, what do we want to focus on? And then what kind of framework do we need, like Risa was saying, which is part of our goal setting, which I can switch over to the other document. But I wanted to make sure there wasn't any major, I mean, there's not much on adaptation here, but that might be just fine for right now. If we're doing goal setting for this year, then maybe that's something that comes next year. We can have a list that, things that we pick up over time. Kate, did you want to add something?
I just wanted to say quickly that what I'm hearing is maybe we're looking at some shorter term goals because of the flux that's happening in the city and the liaisons to this committee. And then also that certain ones of these goals that I might consider really important, like new buildings being only clean energy, might not be the best short-term goal right now, because that would involve a lot of city input or an ordinance, say. So there's a whole, probably half of those things on that list require maybe more input from the city. And even though we might think they're really important, they might not be the best choices for the moment.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
Okay.
Because we're running out of time. So I'm going to let folks go into that laundry list after the meeting. We're not going to get it done right now. I was hoping we'd just zip through it right now, but that's okay. We have things that we need to talk about. And I think it's important not to rush just because of that. So we worked past opportunities. We have our purpose, which is already outlined for us. We have goals and objectives. And just a reminder, the SMART formula goals should be specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, and time-bound. I think that's really important for this group as we set some of our goals. Writing them in real time. So we are saying, by the end of this year, this will describe what we are doing rather than we will do these things. It just helps your brain kind of find them more achievable. So I just started with some that I think we should have as goals, but the people can add to them. We will refine them. We will all come to agreement on what they should be. I just started to pre-populate some of this.
Marnie?
Yeah.
When we afterwards, when we go through that exercise of looking at the laundry list and rating it, can we include Kate's you know, suggestion maybe we put in parentheses, you know, long-term, short-term, just so that we can acknowledge the value of it, but maybe given our current reality.
Yeah.
I don't know if that makes sense, but
it does. And I can just set up the survey that way. I can do 2 columns. So one is more like immediate goals and one is more longer term goals. And people can then rank them that way. And that way it'll get us way ahead for our next goal setting. So that's fantastic.
great.
Thank you for that suggestion. Okay, so this is where we are. We're almost out of time. I'm trying to think in my head how we want to do next steps. You know, we can do some more of this online, and I can send out some more information, and I'll add what we got through today into that same survey. So don't go into it now. I'll tell you when it's ready, and that way we can move forward with this effort without having a big, long, extended meeting. Although I think at some point we really do want to do something more like a retreat.
Arnie, I already did the survey, so if you can get rid of it, I'll do it again or something.
Okay, thank you.
So did I.
So
Okay.
did I.
I did as well.
I thought we were supposed to. Sorry, I thought you said.
Just do it then. Just if everyone wants to just do it, we'll do a different question and another one. Yeah. I guess I was worried this wasn't going to be enough time, and obviously it's not, but I feel like we had some good, useful discussions. The survey was really helpful, so I appreciate everyone's time there.
Yeah, thanks for putting all this together in a form that we can build upon.
Yeah,
I totally agree. And seeing where, you know, the members of the commission are coming from will help us get to the next steps. So I think, yeah. I think that's important.
In the meantime, if folks want to meet in their small groups, I think that's really useful. I know our storytelling one is moving ahead, so we're going to keep doing that. And I know, I mean, if your group needs some focus, you can use anything out of this survey or anything that we've talked about today, if that helps, or just keep doing what you already are doing and start to refine as far as setting your own goals, setting your own timeline, and letting us know how we should work together. James.
So subgroup 1 really needs the help with subgroup 2 in order to get our job done. And that was one of my concerns in the first place, that subgroup 1 and subgroup 2 were different in that we depend on subgroup 2 to get some of the work done that we need to, or at least have that communication package built. And so I'm not sure, you know, Larry and I could get together again and talk about this in terms of where we might go individually, and it would be another month before we reported it, and then it would be another month before we got something started with it, like actually doing stuff, right?
We can talk across groups, so let's just set up that meeting that needs to happen.
As long as we can do that, okay.
We just can't have more than 4 people.
Okay.
Part of our group will meet with part of your group, and we will work it out. How's that? Yeah, I just don't want that. I don't want our lack of organization to keep us from doing anything for, you know, the next couple months as we kind of get our footing. So let's, at the most we can, to keep moving forward. And that's all we have. Is there anything I need to put on the agenda for next time that anyone has to bring to me right now?
We just need to figure out when we're meeting for the next 2 months.
Right.
Yes, I will get that.
And I think it's vitally important that we address how we're going to interact with community organizations and other commissions, that those 2 things just will really dictate a lot of how we're going to look.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I have to go. Thanks,
Yeah,
everyone.
we've got to go too.
Okay. Thank you.
Hey, Marnie, before you go, can I ask you a question?
Yep.
On your PowerPoint here, where is it that you said you wanted to advertise something? There was something, it was in big bold letters, but I don't remember where it is. You wanted to advertise what's out there. You wanted to advertise something. It's on your goal list, or?
I think it's in the goal list, and it's to promote the incentives that the city already has.
Maybe that was it, and it had it really big. It said, or do it like.
You want me to I can send you that document.
Well, I was just wondering, you have a web page, and I just looked at it right now, and it's pretty black and white. There's not much, there's no color on there. There's no, pictures on there. But if you have some stuff you want to put on your web page for advertising, just give it to me, and I'll put it on there for you.
Okay.
Okay. Oh, huge push. It was, advertise existing city incentives, huge push. I can do links on there to other places, or, pictures, or whatever you guys want to do.
Okay. Okay, that's good to know. Thank you so much.
Okay. Yeah, Larry, that would help us too in our work for what we're up to.
Yeah, and Marnie, I just want to let you know you did a huge lift getting this meeting organized and doing all this work on all this textual and thought work that really all needed to be done. And I think it really made this meeting very, very productive, because we have a lot crammed in our heads that we'll be able to digest.
Okay, I think the digestion part will be actually very important. We can do that and then come back and we'll have more clarity next time. So thank you.
So Marnie, you're sending this document out to us?
Oh, I have to make sure whatever I do fits with meeting rules. So can I do that?
Well, this is part of our meeting notes.
Yeah. Yeah, I can send it to everybody, and I'll send it to you, Mary. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay, sounds good. Tanya, did you have your hand up?
No, I was just reinforcing what Larry was saying. I thought that this is a lot to take in, but it's a lot of preparation, and I really appreciate the work that you've done.
Okay, thank you. All right, thanks so much, everybody.